Hi, Ian. I'm Yutaka. I'm with the Horror Hour. How are you?
Hey, how are you, sir? I'm doing all right.
So let's talk Teacup because this has been kind of a roller coaster of a season for me in terms of emotion. I did not expect to get so invested in these characters, specifically some that just I typically don't gravitate towards. So when it came to crafting the family of I'm so bad with names, and now I've got to look. That's terrible.
That's all
The Chenoweths.
right.
When it came to crafting them, how did it come about to creating those characters for your sh series?
Well, I think that anything, be it horror, be it drama, be it comedy, uh, if you're not on board with the characters, if you don't care about the characters, then you've already lost. And so, crafting these characters, it was more about who are these people than it was about what are they dealing with. What they're dealing with is going to be there and it's going to evolve and change uh, on its own. Who these people are and how they deal with whatever that is, that's the interesting thing. And I also think that's the thing that, when you said that you were more invested than you wanted to be, that is all. We could stop right now. That's it. I have gotten what I wanted, uh, which is, I don't think of this as a horror series or a science fiction series or a family drama. I think of it as all those things, but I think of it as just it's a story.
Hmm.
And what I want to do is I want to make you feel. And by the end of the season, if you're not feeling anything, well, that's fine. Either you're not human or I didn't do my job, or but that's the job is to, jump scares. Are they fun? Sure. But I think it's harder to get people to feel something for an extended period of time, and especially in long form narrative, you need them on board with these characters, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're good people or
Oh
bad people.
no, some of them are
You
not good
know,
people.
yeah, James starts out as kind of a heel, and his whole journey is about as a redemption story. How does
Hmm.
he win the his wife's forgiveness? How does he win back his family? How does he win the audience's empathy? Why should they care about him? And I think Scott did a great job with that. But it's a hard battle, and it took it took all 8 episodes. I don't know if that answered your question.
It did, and
Okay, good.
something
Good,
you
good, good.
also mentioned though too. One of the feelings that I had while watching this as well is while it's beautiful and it's this gorgeous scenery, it's so isolating, which is crazy because most of the time, sometimes I think of claustrophobia and isolation, but this was just like huge, expansive, but it just felt completely isolating, and that is probably the scariest thing to me because I think that's the worst feeling and
Yeah.
you really captured that. And I'm just curious when filming on set, I'm curious how the actors approach that.
I'll tell you two things. I'll get to that. But years ago, I wrote this feature script for a movie. It hasn't been made as of yet. Uh, but I did a draft, and then the producers said, "Okay, let's take this apart and put it back together." And one of the producers said to me, "Horror is all about isolation. That's it."
Yeah.
And it stuck with me over the years. And so the idea of, as you said, claustrophobia or something like that, that makes sense to me. But taking that sense of isolation and saying there's nobody coming, uh, that was absolutely what drew me to this, to adapting the book that this is based on. And dealing with the actors and dealing with all the technicians and the artists who made the story come together, it was a challenge because, to pull back the curtain a little bit, that farm is not, it's pretty isolated, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not as isolated as it looks in that show. And it took both
Oh.
picking angles, but also, the special effects people and the visual effects people painting out houses, lights in the distance, every sign of, there was a painstaking process of going through and saying, well, if we see that, we know there's help at this distance, whether it's
Oh, okay.
so so there was a lot of creation of that feeling, uh, digitally, I guess you'd call it. But with the actors, they're very good at pretending things that aren't real are real. Like for example, the Claire statue was a real thing, and it was there. So it wasn't like they were acting opposite a tennis ball or
Mm-hmm.
something you would with CGI, but it helped a little bit. That being said, the farm is uh, somewhat isolated, so it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that much of a leap for them. But
Okay.
it was a constant reminder, nobody's coming.
I
Remember,
mean,
you know.
well, the other thing that I really have enjoyed, and obviously we have the final two episodes coming up, so I won't spoil anything, but I've seen it, and it's you had some very gag worthy like my jaw dropped a couple times. So what can fans expect for the remaining two episodes that are coming up?
What did you? Well, now I want to know when
I
your
don't want
jaw.
to like there was just a moment where somebody oh yeah, there was like a push so to speak, and
Uh-huh.
my jaw dropped. I was like, "Oh, wow. Okay." Because
Yeah,
it was so quick, so sudden, but I was like it hit me like, "Oh, I need a moment on
that's
that one."
that's fantastic. I think what audiences can expect is what we, you know, attempted and I think succeeded at doing throughout the season, which is upending the expectation. Uh, that I I think I'm safe in saying this, that anyone who hasn't seen the last two episodes, if we were to have them write down what they think is going to happen, I'm I'm 99% sure nobody would come up with what happens. And that to me is, that's the challenge is, as what we were talking about before, is to elicit emotion from your audience,
Hmm.
but at the same time, surprise them. And I, much like the audience, I've read, I've been told many, many, many stories. So to be able to, keep the ending, the cliffhanger, what happens in the last two episodes from your audience, so that they are on board without knowing what's happening.
Hmm.
That's the challenge, and I think it seems like by your reaction that
Yeah, I had an idea, but I
one
would
that's
say
one
I was
person.
for the most part I was completely I was like, okay, yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
catch that and but yeah, there were several moments that just I was like, ooh, okay. So I really enjoyed it. And honestly, I just appreciate you taking the time out of your day to speak with me. I did make note that I think you said also one of your favorite films is Alien. So I just kudos because that's one of mine as well. So,
yeah, talk about isolation. Yeah, that one is,
and
this
that's
is
why
what
I
we
think
got to work with.
claustrophobia. So that's
Yeah,
why when I saw this, I go, oh man, I feel like I just felt so alone. But again, I really enjoyed the family drama, or well, I guess in this sense, they're a community at this point.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but also I enjoyed the mystery elements that you added as well. So,
Oh,
thank you
fantastic.
again, and
Thank you.
really appreciate speaking with you.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and thank you for the kind words. And I'm sure you've already seen it, but there's this thing. I think it's on both Max and Netflix. It's called Scavenger's Reign.
It's on my watch list, so I
Oh,
guess.
you got to watch it. It's so great. It's so great. And they're like bite-sized episodes. Unfortunately, I don't think it's ever coming back.
Oh.
But it is a close-ended story. But you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. It's fantastic.
uh, that's on my list, so I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
All right. Thanks. Good talking to you, sir.